Hello, I'm Steve Follen and here's another weird week from Newslite TV. This week, Daleks, dogs and die. And we start with that dog who can walk through walls. Well, kind of. He sort of gets his head through and then gets stuck, but he's working on it. This is Rebel, the German Shepherd, who got curious about a hole in a wall as he walked past it over in the States, in California in fact. It took 30 minutes for rescuers to finally squeeze him back out. And the good news is he's now feeling a whole lot better. It's the annual list that hotels put out saying, "Ooh, look at what people leave in our rooms." But every year, to be fair, it does bemuse us. So if you stayed in a travel lodge in 2010, maybe one of these belongs to you. Perhaps you left £10,000 in cash, a 4-foot yam, gold false teeth, or a Dalek. Yeah, a Dalek. Actually, to be fair, when the Dalek says "do not disturb," he means it. Tennis is played on quite a lot of surfaces around the world. Grass courts, clay courts, hard courts, and now floating courts, this is called, if perhaps a little less unpractical. This is Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. You might have heard of them playing on a floating court for a publicity stunt, one presumes, although it's a serious game. If you look very closely, you can see the line judges with snorkels just treading water permanently at either end of the court. There's also, of course, ball boys. Actually, that looked better written down, didn't it, in the script than... There's also ball boys. See? But, yeah, quite clever now, isn't it? I like that. It looks like the result of a radioactive disaster, possibly Homer Simpson's fault, with two-headed fish with 3 eyes flapping about inside. But actually, this fluorescent green river, thankfully, was the result of pranksters and caused no harm to local wildlife. This is in Canada. Well, actually, if we say it's in Canada, I can't help but think that actually it wasn't pranksters and it wasn't in Canada. This is some weird kind of Willy Wonka world where they create slush puppies. There's a blue river next door and then a little red river. Just a big dog at either end saying, "Mwahaha." And now the story of Leona, who has let herself go after the worldwide success of Bleeding Love and now lives disguised as a tiny 3-month African penguin in a zoo in Germany. Over Christmas she decided she'd go for a little wander. She somehow managed to escape her penguin enclosure, walked up a visitor path, found herself on top of a grass bank, and from there spied some ice. Went, "Ooh, ice, I'm a penguin, I like ice, I'll go over there." Hops onto it. Sadly, that bit of ice was in the middle of the lion enclosure. Now, before Bleeding Love sounds a lot better than what else might be bleeding, we should say it had a happy ending. Thankfully, zookeepers saw her before the lions who were sleeping. Yeah, even though it wasn't tonight. Yeah, the lions were sleeping, so they managed to get the penguin out. Okay, it's a happy ending, everybody. Yeah, they actually lured her out with a trail of herrings all the way back to the penguin enclosure, which incidentally is how they get the real Leona out of the dressing room. Nanoscientists from the University of Nottingham have managed to etch the entire periodic table onto a single human hair. Maybe they were a bit bored. Using a specialist ion beam writer. Come on, we've all got one. You know, it's in the drawer in the kitchen. You know the drawer in the kitchen with all the bits and bobs? Yeah, it's right next to the corkscrew. Anyway, using an ion beam writer and a electron microscope next to the spatula, they managed to put all 118 elements onto a single human hair. And it wasn't just any hair, it was a hair plucked from the fine head of Professor Martin Polyakov, who's an expert in green chemistry. Now they say, it's quite cool, that the size that is written, if they were to write it onto a post-it note, they could write the periodic table 1,000,000 times. Bit tight with post-it notes in Nottingham, are they? It's quite a thick pad, you can probably afford to, I'm just saying. But we finish with what else but a 14-foot replica of Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, made entirely out of that fluff that you find in your tumble dryer. Really? Take a look. This is the work of Laura Bell, an artist who did 800 hours of laundry to create the lint and spent another 200 hours putting it together. She bought specific coloured towels to get the right shades for her palette. After selling the rather odd artwork, she got so much money she decided to buy a new washer and dryer, which is also true. I like this a lot, though it would be better if you knew that it came out of a belly button rather than... No, but wouldn't it? That's your lot. I've been Steve Folland, and that was your Weird Week.